So we've talked a lot about English paper techniques on this channel because I really love making things that look like they're hand pieced, but not necessarily hand piecing them. This is going to be another one of those times. I have pre-printed out a bunch of hexagons on my print and piece fuse paper. Reason that this technique works with this paper is because it washes out when you're done with your project. I'm going to show you some tips on getting this technique down and some steps to make it even easier. All right, so first thing we're going to do is I printed out 2.5 inch tall hexagons. This is a free download from this website here, thewillowmarket.com. She gives you, I think, 4 sizes of hexagons. They're very easy to download and print out. We'll put the link in the comment. And what I like about this is that a lot of the templates I see for hexagons is there's a gap in between, which isn't that big a deal, but it's just more cutting. So what I like about this one is you don't waste a lot of time with your cutting. So a couple of tips on cutting these papers out is I like to use a big long scissor. These are my super sexy 7000 series Kai scissors. If you haven't tried these scissors, do yourself a favor. It's a really nice time. Typically what I'll do is I like to make straight cuts all of the time because I find that I get more accurate corners when I just make straight cuts instead of trying to go around the corners, right? So I'll cut all the paper away first, and I am just going to make straight cuts that match the lines. Now, if you cut into your design at all, it's okay because the way these are laid out, if you cut into that hexagon, it's not going to matter because you're going to iron this down. My cutting techniques, pretty basic. I just opt not to go around curves or corners if I can help it. I also, if you haven't noticed this on videos before, my hands shake sometimes. So I like shears when I can use them because I can put them down on the table and lay them flat, and then I get more accurate cutting when my hands aren't shaking. Now, the key to getting really accurate hexagons is for them to all come out exactly the same. So if you have the dies to cut out hexagons from your AccuQuilt, this is even easier, and this paper will just go right through your AccuQuilt and you don't have to figure any of this out. Now, once I have this part where I've cut away my extra material, I will just take my long scissors again, and I'm just gonna snip directly into this design. So again, if I cut a little bit over that line, it's not really gonna matter. I find it's better to cut just slightly into the next hexagon than to not get accurate cuts. Okay, now we only need 7 of these, and there's 10 on a sheet, so I'm going to take 3 of them and put them to the side. We're going to make our hexagons. So let me get my iron heated up here, and I want to kind of fussy cut my hexagons. So I like my Caterpillar glow board. Now, the Caterpillar boards are fantastic for anything you're using. So this is my cutting board. So I can put this, turn on my board, and then I can actually cut directly on this. So if I were to cut fabric and I wanted to line it up, I can see through my fabric. My Quilter Select rulers, this has a bit of a grip to it, so my Quilter Select ruler will still slide on it, but it doesn't slide on the fabric. So when I want to move things, I can easily slide the fabric around on this cutting mat, and I can still see through it. Okay, so I can clean this up really easily and cut on my light board. So that part is already kind of cool. Now here's what I really dig though. Yes, this is my cutting mat. This is a tempered glass ironing board. So the reason I like this for this technique is now I can fussy cut my fabric because the light will come through it. All right, so I'm a Tula Pink girly, so I have tons of Tula Pink scraps laying around that I love to do my hexagons with. So as long as I have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I can use any of these. So I could audition what I want to see. I could put these teacups in there. I could feature the bunny. I could feature the hat. I could feature the mouse right there. And fun trivia question, my cat is actually named after the mouse from Alice in Wonderland. Her name is Mally Pumpkin. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think we're going to talk about the Mally Pumpkin today. I am going to line up this hexagon on top of that little mouse. Now, the shiny side of my paper is fusible. Since this light box topper is made from tempered glass, I can now iron right on my light box. How cool is that? This paper fuses really easily, so you just have to heat it up for 5 or 6 seconds, and it's now stuck down on there. Now, if you're finding that your iron isn't quite getting hot enough or it's not fusing, you can hit it with a little bit of steam. I don't usually use a lot of steam in this product just because it is water soluble, so I don't want it to get wet, but it does like steam so that it will truly stick. Okay, so I'm gonna fussy cut my cutesy little mouse right there. Then for the rest of the project, I love these tiny stripes from Tula because it's very easy to line these up. It's very easy to line up my stripes so it makes a secondary design. So the way I find that the easiest to do is take the points of my hexagon and line them up along the stripe. Now, when you're doing this technique, you want to make sure that you have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all the sides of your hexagon. So if I put it right here, I'm within the selvage and I have plenty on the side. That stripe runs directly through the middle of my hexagon, and then it's centered top and bottom that way. So I'm going to put one down and set my iron on top of that. I set my iron on top of the piece of paper while I line my next one up. So do you see how I'm putting my points right there on that same stripe? That's going to let me repeat this design all the way across. And since I can put the iron right here on the light box, it's very clear where this is going to line up. Okay. It takes about the same amount of time for this to fuse as it does for me to lay out the next piece. So I put one down, I iron it, I go to the next one. Now, when I get to here, this isn't quite it's probably exactly a 1/4 inch. I want to have a little bit more leeway there. So I'm going to push this down and go to the next one. And I'm going to go ahead and put the iron on both of those pieces, just to get them good and stuck. Okay? And same thing here, when I'm putting the next one on, I want to make sure that they're lined up on the same line and that I have enough seam allowance between the pieces. So now all of those are fused down. I'm going to double check and make sure that everything's ironed on there. It is. So if you've ever tried to make hexagons with a dark fabric, sometimes it's just kind of hard to see. And if you're trying to fussy cut on a dark fabric, you really can't see what's happening. So I can now either leave the glass on here, or I can take the glass away and I can put my cutting mat onto my light box. I like to use my add a quarter ruler for this step of the technique. So if I want to see exactly what I'm going to cut, I can leave my cutting mat on the light box if I choose to. You don't have to. You can do this on your regular cutting board. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to cut these all out. Make sure you've got your seam allowance all the way around. If you haven't used an add a quarter ruler before, what it does is it adds 1/4 of a seam allowance around your pieces. You can eyeball this. You can cut this with scissors if you want to, but as a quilter for a really long time, I find it faster to use a rotary cutter to do most things than to even use scissors, because it's kind of our go-to tool, right? So I'm going to rough cut this just to get it out of the way. All right, so now I have 6 striped blocks and I'll have one with a mouse on it. I'm going to put my light box away. So now we're going to use our glue stick. This is my favorite glue stick for lots and lots of reasons that you guys have heard about on lots and lots of videos. And we're just going to glue our seam allowance down. When I put my glue on, I like doing this on a wool mat because it's kind of squishy, so I can put pressure on it. And it just sort of goes easier because of the mat kind of holds on to the fabric so it doesn't slide away as I'm doing this. I'm going to turn my edges over the top of the paper, get them all glued down. Okay, now comes the Quilt-As-You-Go part. Here's my tips on that. This isn't a very big project, so we don't have to get really crazy with like fusing down our batting and things, because this is really only going to be the size of either a mug rug or a trivet or however you like to use it. If you want to make it more like a trivet, you could put heat reflective batting in it. We'll put a link to that. So you could make it more of like a hot plate, but I'm just going to make a regular sort of mug rug type situation. So for that technique, I just have a scrap of batting, something that was left over from quilting a quilt. You can do 1 layer, you can do 2 layers, depending on what thickness your batting is. This is a Hobbs 80/20, so it's not a super thick batting, but it's got a nice loft to it. So it's perfect for this technique. I might be inclined to do a 2nd layer just to make it kind of fluffier. The other thing that I like about using this batting is a lot of times when you have a mug rug, you want something that's kind of absorbent. So if your glass sweats, it'll soak it up. So sometimes that's why I'll do 2 layers of batting. For the sake of argument, for this video, we're going to do 1 layer of this batting. I've got more than enough here. So I'm going to just pick up my fabric, put my batting down, put this back over the top. Now you can use 505 spray. I really like the Quilter Select Free Fuse powder. You can sprinkle it on, you can make anything you want fusible that way so that it doesn't move as you're quilting on it. This is a small enough project that I don't think it matters too much about making it stay, but if that gives you peace of mind, go ahead and do that. I'm gonna cut away my extra batting here. If you're wondering about the mat that I'm using, it is both a wool mat and a cutting mat, and as you can see, I use it as a rotating mat too, because it's only a 14-inch square. It'll rotate just fine on my table just as it is. Okay, so see, it'll turn just like I want it to. We've got fabric, batting, fabric. We've got a sandwich. All right, so I'm gonna find roughly the middle of my block here, my super high-tech way of finding the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna square this up after we do the quilting. There is roughly my center. Now, the way I like to do these, and I've got about 100 of these blocks already done, is I'll take a bit of glue and just sort of get this to stick down. All right, so there's my middle, there's my hexie. Because we did these stripes the way that we did, look at how cool they lay out. So now they're gonna kiss like that, and they're gonna make concentric circles around our little Mallyumpkin, okay? Just like that. So I'm gonna just put a bit of glue, just enough to hold these in place. I can also take some heat to this if I want the glue to dry faster. This glue dries really quickly, so you probably don't need this step, but it'll hold it in place for you. Okay. Now you can put some pins out here if you want to just give yourself a little bit more stability. My favorite pins are these long pink magic pins because they're long and fine, so they kind of do exactly what I want. Okay, so now we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to quilt through this as we applique it down. All right, so the stitch that I like for this is, I'm not sure, I call it the Frankenstein stitch. I know that's not the technical name for it, but I just think it's funny. So it is the hem stitching stitch. What I like about that one is that it goes both sides of the line, but it also stitches down the middle. So I like it to stitch down the middle so that I know that my stitches going either side of my hexagon are going to be straight. I don't want it to be a huge stitch, so I'm going to keep my width at a 5 and my length at a 2. I'm also going to use the pivot function on my machine because that's going to make this whole process easier. Okay. So now we are going to sew. I have a zigzag foot on my machine, or an open toe foot, depending on what your machine calls it. Now I can also use, this is also a really fun time to use my laser guide because I can line it up ahead of time. Now, one of the things I always suggest with this technique is to make as long of a pass as you can. So whatever that means to you, wherever you can start, that's great. I'm going to start right here on this outside edge, and I'm going to put the, let me see if I can make this higher. I'm going to put the opening of my foot right between the two pieces of my hexagon. And drop my needle, and I want my needle to go right there in that corner, that concave point of the outside of my hexagons. And I'm going to do a tie-off stitch. All this does is make like 3 little stitches. It makes a knot that's not visible. Now the reason I want to use this hem stitch is because it takes a stitch right down that middle, and that means I can make sure that my stuff is centered and that I don't get off kilter. People ask me a lot, can I use my zigzag stitch for this? You absolutely can, but it's really hard to figure out where the middle of your hexagon stitch is. This way I know exactly where the middle of my stitch is. I'm going to go all the way to the point. I'm going to leave my needle down, and this is where that pivot functions really nice. I'm going to turn the corner and keep on stitching. And most of the time, I can really only get 3 sides of the hexagon together to do this. And I want to make sure that that final stitch that I do in the corner is in the middle, that it's not in the jump out step. When I get to this point, I'm going to tie off again. One of the things I really like about this machine is that tie off stitch, because it makes a really tiny little knot, doesn't booger up anything, and it doesn't look messy like a back and forth stitch. But I want to make sure I finish my repeat before I get to that corner. I'm also using a pink thread that I think brings out the colors in this really nicely. You can use an invisible thread if you like. You can use a completely contrasting thread if you want the stitching to be part of the element. When I'm just doing this technique as EPP, not as Quilt-As-You-Go, I don't do tie-off stitches because there's not anything to tie it off to. But since we have the whole quilt sandwich behind the fabric, there's plenty to tie it off to. Okay. So now we have quilted down our entire hexagon. That's the front, that's the back. Now I want to do a separate stitch around the outside edge to applique the whole thing down, but I don't want to have the stitches go both directions because that doesn't quite work, right? Because then you'd have these weird stitches coming out the other side. So what I'm going to use instead is a standard blanket stitch, and I'm going to match the stitches that were on the last one. So we're going to do a 5mm length and a 2.5mm width, and we're going to make sure that when we put this down that our jump in stitches go onto our applique and not off of it. Okay. All right, that was too big. So I'm going to take my stitches down to a 3mm length. That's better. So that's going to more match the stitch that we used in the EPP section of this. So here is our finished Quilt-As-You-Go table topper, or mug rug, trivet, placeholder, whatever you want to call this. I like this size because it's really easy to make as a mug rug. You can now at this point either stay stitch all the way around the edge and then take some pinking shears to it and clean up the edges. That will make the batting visible, but it makes for a really cute finished end result. I have 2 of these that sit next to my nightstand at night. One's got a glass of water on it, one's got a cup of tea on it, but since this has batting on the inside, if my water glass sweats, it soaks up the perspiration from the glass, and it's really washable. If the dog gets it or I spill my tea on it or whatever, it doesn't matter. I can throw it in the washing machine. Once I wash this paper is going to come out and it's going to be even softer. So I am probably going to use my bias tape maker to make a 1-inch folded in binding and then do a single fold binding around the edge. But you bind this however you see fit. These are a great gift to make for somebody because you got to make something this weekend, or you want to make a full set. If you make 4 of them, you have matching coasters. It's a great way to use up some of your scraps, your scrap batting, your scrap fabric, whatever you want to do. So I think this is a really fun technique and it makes for a really quick gift. So go make you some.